Chris, how are we sounding?
Sounded real.
Did you already start recording? You're getting little bits and pieces?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Trouble.
I was going to say, yeah, but I feel like this time we've actually said good things. We haven't said anything too stupid yet.
That's fair.
Just wait.
We haven't started yelling at each other yet.
Hello, welcome to Tabletop Talk, where we play games, D&D. I'm your host, Jeremy McCarthy. With me are my other hosts, my friends, Kyle, Trevin, and producer Chris. And we have a guest, my bro, Brannon. He here with us.
I'm sure he's so proud of you right now.
I'm not going to say.
Beaming with joy.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm a little lost. Which episode was this one again?
We're doing a Dungeons & Dragons episode on Tabletop Talk about how to DM for kids.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Yeah, it would have been way interesting, much more interesting if I said something like super serious, like, hey, we're going to continue talking about how to deal with problem players today. So, like I said, we have my big brother Brannon here with us, and we're gonna talk about dungeoning for your own children. I know, Kyle, you are a dungeon master for your kid and your wife, right?
Yeah.
And then Brannon, dungeon master for 5 kids.
Yep. I do 5 kids, my 5 kids.
Well, Jeremy told me that you actually only had kids so you would have people to play
100%.
D&D with.
And other games. Because I'm a big kid myself.
Oh, there we go.
It works really well.
There's no shame in that. I'm the same way.
I was going to say, yeah, Trevin's got a 3rd one on the way now, so...
I think I had a bigger Nerf gun collection when I didn't have kids than I do now when I'm with kids.
I can actively say that is true on my end.
That is fair. We played lots of we played much more video games before you had kids. That's for sure. We still play video games with your kids, and I think you probably just end up doing a lot of different types of games, instead of just like, yeah, well, I have tons of Nerf, or we're playing Halo every night, to, oh, yeah, well, we had a tea party this day, we played Sorry that day, we're doing Minecraft.
The few times I came over to your guys' house, there was always like 2 or 3 video games going on, like... In the living room, everyone was playing, like, the Nintendo 64. I'd walk into the next room, and a bunch of people were, like, LAN partying on League of Legends and such. Yeah. That was actually the first time I saw League of Legends, was at your guys' house.
Oh, no way.
And nobody would explain to me what was going on.
They had to click. They were.
I know, I got that.
Had to focus on the mouse clicks. Had to farm.
Those were fun times.
So, first off, Kyle and Brannon, why did you decide to DM for family?
Honestly, I can't get enough D&D, and my kid is always messing with my minis and my books, and her favorite creatures are every type of ooze out there, so I just thought it was time to let her try it and all, and yeah.
Okay, so for me, we were in Chelan with our family vacation with everybody and all their we have 16 cousins that are the next generation, and all the older generation went to a D&D one-shot for a birthday.
There we go.
Birthday?
That was it this last year,
No,
right?
I think it was last year.
Yeah, I did it for Caden, for our nephew.
No, Jim DM'd.
Oh,
one-shot.
that was...
like 2 years ago?
No, I think 2 years ago was when the game store in Buckley was still open. Because I remember meeting up with everyone for that one.
Yeah, for that one. No, but we did a one-shot for our brother Ryan's bachelor party. Crazy bachelor party. We're like, let's play D&D. It was awesome.
It was for Caden. So we do a one-shot for Caden, and all my kids are like, well, we want to play, and the other nieces and nephews were like, we want to play too. So I was like, okay, I can do something fun. Everybody create a superhero that has 1 power. And then all the parents got kidnapped, and they had to go save them.
There we go.
So, and we just did
cool.
fun. Everybody rolled and stuff like that. Somebody had ice powers, so they froze the lake so everybody could walk on it, and then they had to go save the parents. And that's how I started.
That's cool. That makes so much more sense because I had one of our nephews come up to me just randomly and was like, "Hey, pick a superpower." I was like, "Okay, what?" And I picked one. He's like, "Not strong enough," and he just walked away.
You are not a part of the Avengers.
Okay, shoot. I guess I don't get a join.
Yeah,
Man,
we all
what
got the
power
wall
did you
dice and stuff
pick?
like that.
What power was so bad that you just were shunned from joining the team?
You know, honestly, it was probably some power that was like, you know what? I think the power to like create food would be really cool because you could make whatever you want when you're hungry. You could feed the whole world. It'd be really great. You know, it's just not strong enough. See you later. That's boo.
I need better.
Boo! Yeah. I'm looking for laser vision, man.
What Marvel character has that? None. No one, because it's not
Even
good.
Adam Eve doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And she rearranges molecules.
Yes.
Okay, so could you guys tell me a bit about your current campaign with your kids? Like, what's the setting? Who's in it? What do you do? Do you do theater of the mind? Do you have like actual like minis or maps or anything? Like, how do you run it?
I'll let you go first.
Okay,
You're the
so
guest.
our campaign is basically a mixture of a fantasy world with like a Indian in the cupboard or like a Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh,
'Cause
okay, cool.
They were in the setting was that they were in their little playhouse and a mirror popped up and they walked through the mirror and then they're in this fantasy world.
Nice. So some Alice through the looking glass.
Yeah, so
stuff.
they're themselves in the D&D, so I didn't really have to make characters or backstories or anything like that,
That's a lot easier.
which was a lot easier. And their world is whatever we make it, and I do a lot of theater of the mind. We don't use minis, we don't use anything. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's opposite on my end. It's the minis that got Charlie involved because I like to paint minis. These guys can attest. I've got them all throughout my basement and upstairs. It might be a problem. Again, somebody send help for Kyle.
I could easily see how that would be enticing as a kid because when you're a kid, you see what your parents are doing and you go, "What is that? I want it." You know.
For sure. Well, and unlike Warhammer models, most of the like D&D minis are kind of one piece in resin, so they're lighter. If they drop, they're not likely going to break into a bunch of pieces and break your mental sanity. Trevin's giggling because he's just gotten into Warhammer. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing's worse than breaking like a tank or something you were working on for 4 hours.
More like 14.
Oh my gosh, that is a long time.
It can take a long time, and when I was little, I used like the super glue that burned whenever you touched it. So at this point, I don't think I get chemical reactions. That's my superpower. No.
You're like Men in Black. You've already burned your fingerprints off.
I've just and I didn't intentionally try to become unidentifiable. It just happened. No, so our campaign takes place on a small island in the woods in a small cottage where my daughter is just playing as a 6-year-old, where she herself is actually 3, almost 4 now. But I just made it 6 because I was like, 6 is about old enough to run around, like, and when kids are kind of not as needing their parents to like play and do stuff. So let's just give her something that works with that it's still little kid mentality. And I made up just a background that was like, oh, it's adventurer's child. And so she got like a special magic item that's an amulet of speaking with animals. And essentially she just runs a farm area that's just like, she's got a cow, there's some chickens, and she just does little things like that and occasionally does errands to the town that's about like an hour away. And then there's just like 3 goblins and a couple regular reoccurring things like a griffin that lives on the mountain next door that she's befriended. And so it's just kind of a friendly back and forth thing. There's no combat in it. We use the minis for some of the stuff, but it's usually just so I can help her with placement because we're not quite at theater of the mind yet with our imagination.
My kids already do play a lot of make believe, and they already have their dragon riders that they are and stuff like that. They already do that. So the theater of mind didn't take a lot to bring that to the D&D table.
Well, and how old are your kids? Sorry, is that what you were
Yeah,
going?
that was exactly what I was going to ask.
The oldest is 11, and then it goes every 2 years. So 11, 7, 5, and 3. 11,
Okay.
9, 7, 5, and 3.
Okay.
Now, did you say they're dragon riders in their campaign now?
No, they're dragon riders just in
general.
In general.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say
Come on, Johnny.
that's my daughter likes to ride her unicorns everywhere
Mm-hmm.
now. She's finally getting theater of the mind, and that's where I'm like, okay,
it's so
we're
much fun.
finally hitting that mature point. So now I'm thinking we can kind of start our game up again because we've taken a small hiatus. Since she hasn't started school or anything yet, she doesn't play with a lot of other kids very often. When she does great with them, but she just hasn't experienced a lot of make-believe play aside from with me. And then she looks at me like I'm crazy, and I probably am. But
Well, the good news is that, Dr. RPG, Trevin himself, has brought up multiple studies about the effects on, playing D&D and your ability to, cooperate and socialize with others. So I think it's a really cool
I see
thing.
that in the campaign with my kids, for sure. They learn
Yeah.
from their mistakes, and they're like, okay, next time we're going to do this. And they've been working on the communication like crazy. So every time I hear Dr. RPG go, well, this study says this, I'm like, I can see it firsthand with
That's
little
so
kids.
cool. That's so cool being able to see it live and see your kids grow like that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm using it to try and teach basic math right now
Yeah,
at
that's
an
awesome.
earlier age. So like I made her a character sheet that I removed like a lot of stuff from a normal player sheet that I'm like, she wouldn't know what this is. She can't read it anyway. Let me make certain things. And then I did like highlighted colors. So it's like, here's your strength, your dex. And instead of rolling up stats, I just gave her the modifiers. So they're not like, oh, strength 16 or anything
That's what
like
I
that.
do too.
It's
It's
just
just plus this.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
what I
just,
do too.
and I figured it was just an easy, all right, you get 1 plus 2, you get 2 plus 1s, you then have 2 zeros, and then you have 1 minus 1.
So I do that too, but like politeness, I use random skills that I want my kids to work on.
Oh, that's cool.
There we go, that's
like,
clever.
I'm like, politeness, you get +2 to politeness. And my kids get upgraded on how they do during day-to-day stuff. So I'm like,
There we go.
who found my, can somebody find my keys? They find my keys. I'm like, okay, you get +1 inspiration the next time we play.
There we go.
That's amazing.
And that works pretty well.
Think
That
of
must
how-
be where Jeremy gets the idea from, because in one of our recent videos of Confuse Your DM, he gave me a gift and mentioned
Yeah.
it's a great way to start off a new campaign. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, if you're watching our YouTube channel, just keep on the lookout for Confuse Your DM, because there are some times where I'll surprise Kyle with something very genuinely sweet, and that makes him concerned about, is this genuinely sweet? Kyle's known me long enough that he
The thing
doesn't
is,
know.
It doesn't matter what you do. I'm going to be mad. I can tell you now, that's the default. If you do something nice for me, I'm still going to be mad because I know there's something else behind it.
Sure. Kyle, I washed your car. I was washing mine, so I thought I'd just wash your car too. You think I can't wash my own car? What'd you do?
What, because I'm a cripple?
Did you
You're
scratch
just-
it? Did you scratch it? Is that what you did? And then you had to cover it up? What'd you do?
Where's my kid? Is she okay? What did you do?
That's awesome.
Now, in your current campaigns, what highlights do you have that you've seen from either, yourself, where you're like, wow, I actually came up with something that was really fun and silly, or from your kids with what they did or came up with?
Okay, I'll go first. A couple highlights. When they jump through the mirror, they read that they can only jump through it once a day.
Oh, okay.
So they can jump once back to our home world, our house, and then they can jump once back. And they all decided to jump back, but forgot my daughter, the youngest one.
Oh, no.
And so that was a highlight, because that's how we started. And then they come back, and you guys roll perception, and they're like, you realize your little sister's gone, and they couldn't jump back through the mirror.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no.
And so they had to learn really quickly, like, hey, we need to be a group. We need to look out for one another, because I try to life lessons along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I whispered to my youngest, who's only 3, I'm like, you see a pony outside. Do you want to go pet it? She's like, yeah, I do. So I'm like, okay, let's go pet the pony. And I'm like, you see strawberries? Do you want to eat them? I'm like, yeah, you do. I'm like, you feel stronger because they're special strawberries. And then they have to go back the next day and hunt her and find out where she would. Luckily, some helpful wizard found her and took her to their house. So that was a fun experience. And then I got one more. They have to go through these woods, and it's eerie and dark, and you feel a little cold. And there's spiders that are attacking them, big spiders. And and they're all just about out. And my 5-year-old, Bodie, has to get out, and he rolls. He's like, I'm going to kick the spider out of my way, and he rolls a 20. Nice. And so I'm like, you run and you jump and you're sideways forever, and you kick the spider, and you can't see how far you kicked it. And then he comes out of the woods, and my other son, who sees another spider, as they're already out of the woods, says, I'm going to go jump kick the spider. And then decides to run in the woods after they're already out of the danger.
Oh, no.
And he rolls a 1. Oh, no. And then I say, yep, the spider catches you and starts curling you in its web and walks away. And all my other siblings, all his other siblings are like, Ari, we were okay. What'd you do?
He just didn't think the encounter should be done yet.
And I know every person who plays D&D can relate to that, because there's so many taverns that we've played in our campaign, Brannon, where it was like, oh, okay, things are going pretty well. We're looking around, and our like barbarian goes, someone looked at me wrong. I headbutt him, and you're like, why did you headbutt him?
Why did you?
There's always one player.
Why did you? Well, he challenged me. What do you mean he challenged you?
I was gonna say, I've yet to play a game where there's not one antagonizer.
Yeah.
I think for me it was 2 moments as well. The first one was their encounter with the Griffin. Highwing, they learned his name.
Great name.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of that one. And we called him Highwing, and they ended up making friends. And just watching her face when I start saying, like, and he actually lowers himself down and tells you that you can climb onto his back, and he'll fly you guys down the mountain, and he'll carry your cow back down too. Because he stole the cow originally. That's how they met the Griffin, was they heard a shriek from the sky, flew down, took the cow up to its nest. So her and my wife had to go up the hill to find the cow, because they're like, well, that's family and friend. We need to save them. And so they were so excited about that. And then I discovered how strong griffins are as he one-shot like 3 wolves that appeared. They each got to make some shots and fires at him. But, oh my gosh, like, I was like, oh, gee, okay. And that wolf goes down too. So look, Highwing has food now. He's happy. He'll help fly down. And she was so excited about the fact now that she's friends with a griffin that occasionally comes in and gives her free rides. So she gets so excited about that. But the other story that really, I've mentioned it before on here, but we had somebody get kidnapped by a bunch of the 3 goblins. And so she went and she decided to be stealthy because she always wants to play a sneaky character. And makes me little worried since she's only 3, and I'm like, all right, what are you actually sneaking? And all. But no, she decided to sneak around the goblin camp for a bit, and she discovered they had like no food or anything, as they're talking about how they're going to eat this like dwarf that they had kidnapped, who was just coming to their house to give them haircuts that day, but never showed up. So once she realized that they didn't have anything, she decided that she wanted to actually try and trade them food for the dwarf. And somehow they convinced the goblins that 2 eggs is definitely more than 3 goblins, so they should be able to split it up. And she rolled a 19 on that as well for
compassion.
Her thing.
That's good.
So I gave them the option. Like, my wife was like, should we go in and just like beat them up? And she's like, no, I think we should give them the eggs. And I was like, well, that was very nice of you. Because I was like, it's going to be fun either way. Either she gets her first real combat, or she comes up with something really cute and clever. And since then, that made me like, oh, I really want to keep playing this with her.
That's fun.
Yeah, I like that. And so continuing on with like how like your kids like come up with stuff that you might not have expected, what surprises have happened when you've been playing? Like, how do your kids surprise you? And did anything that they do kind of change your like perception of them? Like, you might have seen that maybe a bit more compassion or something that was like more clever than you would have thought. Or is there anything in your campaigns where you've been playing and the next, like later that day or the next day, you're just going like, wow, dang.
I think I accidentally answered that one already with my second one.
Yeah,
so.
for me, it's the fact of how quick my kids can learn from their previous mistakes shocks me. Like my son Ari, he had I gave them a stone, and it was supposed to be a communication rock, but they didn't know that yet. And he heard it buzzing, so he could talk to Johanna at home. And he heard it buzzing, and they're supposed to be trying to find this gem so that Johanna can come and play with them in their world. And he's like, I think the gem's in there, and just throws it on the ground and smashes it. And I'm like, you can hear somebody faintly saying, hello, hello, and you listen quieter, and it's mommy, and the thing buzzes out. And all the other kids are like, Ari, again, Ari, what'd you do?
I know who I want in my party.
And so next time he wants to do something, he was like, okay, guys, I think I should do this. What do you guys think? And now he's actually asking the group and trying to make sure that his thing.
Good.
And so the amount of how quick they learn from their previous thing just blows my mind. That's the most surprising thing to me.
That's really cool. I never thought about like how cool and useful it would be to have like Dungeons and Dragons for your kids. Like Brannon and I grew up in a family where we played games all the time, and most of them were like competitive games. And it might have been like one team versus another team, but we rarely played a game where it was like all of us like, hey, let's all work together towards a common goal. And we do now because we play Dungeons and Dragons together, but it's cool to see that for like kids because, you know, as kids, you're learning to like look out for each other. Hey, my actions have ramifications past just myself, you know?
That's where with Dr. RPG, I'm like, yes, exactly. Because I'm like, my son's learning that he has to communicate with other people before he goes and does stuff. And it's incredible.
That's cool. Now, for someone who's trying to, or who wants to start a Dungeons and Dragons campaign for their kids, like, what would you guys suggest? What are some tips that you would suggest on just like starting one?
I would say keep it simple.
Yeah, honestly, just simple and fun. Don't think about it the way that you would try and run a game for your buddies. It doesn't need to be deep. Your kids are just looking for a fun time. My game only runs about 30 minutes usually because that's about as long as I can keep her attention for. But yeah, just keep it simple, and a nice moral message usually helps.
I agree. And I got another thing is that you can get into the fighting and stuff like that, and you got to have breaks for your kids. So I feel like I was telling the guys earlier before that, like my kids got to go to a water park for, it was like an hour that we were playing D&D, and they got to ride different rides, and one of the rides started way up in the air, and they were in an invisible water slide. And then at the end of the day, they got to make ice cream and pick what kind of flavor of marshmallows they wanted, and they were all crazy flavors of marshmallows. And so I think that you need some breaks in there, and you need to temper it to whatever level they're at. So if I got a girl who really likes unicorns and rainbows, there's going to be unicorns and rainbows everywhere.
Yeah, that's why the Griffin got put in there, and why I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate a unicorn in there.
Yeah, unicorns in a campaign would be fun. I do have to say that in an adult campaign, if one of my DMs put a unicorn in, I 100% would think that it's evil and it's out to get me because it's too good.
It's too nice.
I'm like, that thing is way too cool. If I'm going to go try to pet it, and I'm going to get stabbed. I know I am.
So I've been wanting to do that, but I'm like, there's just, with most of the people in our groups that play, there's enough people that I'm like, a unicorn would never approach you guys. You guys are the biggest assholes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And almost every single party would be too loud for it to even like get near you. You know, you're like, oh yeah, I got scared away a mile ago because you guys are shouting at the top of your lungs.
Oh, another. Have the Young Adventurers books. I bought that for my daughter, which is what got her into it also. It's got like a mini book about monsters and beasts, another book that's about dungeons and tombs and different things, and then one that's like magic and fighting and different stuff. So it's got little tales and a much simplified version of D&D, and it's made by Wizards of the Coast also, so it's all the actual brand stuff, but it's got cool images in it, and cool little stories, so we used to read that almost every night.
I'm going to have to order that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, before you leave, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
It's cheap on Amazon. I know they just made a couple other books for it that I'm going to need to look into getting as well. I think it was like Colossus and Behemoths or something like that. So that'll hopefully have like the Tarrasque or something fun in there.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
And another trick that I do, sorry to cut you off,
No, go ahead.
Don't be sorry. He needs it.
Okay. Is that each one of my kids has its own special power. So, and that helps them kind of be like, okay, you're good at this, you do this, you're good at this, you do this. So I really try, I feel like D&D does that a lot where everybody has their own little strengths and weaknesses. So I really tried to incorporate that into the game.
Well, you've got enough of them that you could run a whole Captain Planet game.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, that's like a sports team too. And so it's so funny. So Brannon and I, we play in a rec soccer league, and we tried a different formation this last year that we're not used to. And Brandon's, for anyone who plays soccer, he's usually a striker, which is up top, like near their goal. And so we would just like kick the ball to him, and he could either take it on or he's facing us and he could pass. So we're like, hey, let's try Brannon in a whole new position, right? And then towards the end of the season, I remember going, guys, can we just try going back to that? And Brannon went back to it, and it was like, oh, there's a goal, and there's a goal, and there's an assist. I'm like, yeah, we know each other's strengths, you know, similar to like, hey, they all have different powers, so you like can see what they want to do with each other.
Thank you for explaining the positions. I had no idea what we were talking about again. The last time I was able to play with you guys, before the time I just sat and watched and the time I had to leave because as soon as I stretched, I like pulled a muscle. And I was like, this is the most embarrassing. I'm never coming back to play again. Before that, I just remember me and David like running with you guys and go like, I don't know what I'm meant to do. Me either. Just kick the ball. Got it.
That is a fun thing about soccer is you can just run, you know. You're like, I'm just running back and forth. Maybe something will happen, you know.
Maybe I'm doing this right. Am I passing it to my teammate? I don't know. We didn't do shirts and skins.
Now, producer Chris, do we have time for one more short segment?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, Brannon, I don't know if you remember this, but you DM'd for me when I was a kid.
100% remember this.
Okay, I'll tell you what I remember, and then you can tell me what I misremembered.
Oh, man.
Okay, so this is all...
Is Brannon the one that we brought up in the past?
100%. Okay. So this is what I remember. I remember I was a kid playing D&D, and we went... and then Johanna was playing, Brandon's wife was playing, and we went to a magic shop, and there was a miniature dragon, or baby dragon, that the store owner had. And we decided, we're like, I really want that dragon. We asked if it was for sale, and he gave us this unbelievable number that we didn't have in gold. And so we decided, I was like, the dragon looks really cool. I want the dragon. Maybe we should steal the dragon. And then we decided
I don't see what could go wrong with that.
Yeah. Nothing could go wrong. Actually, it wasn't, we didn't know it was a wizard at the time. It was a shopkeeper. And so then we're like, oh, baby dragon, right? I don't know. I must have been in the 4th or 5th grade. I was like, it's a baby dragon. I want the baby dragon. So we're like, we wait till night. We break in, we go to steal it, and the wizard turns us into butterflies. And then he turns me back into a regular person and goes, hey, if you want your friend to come back to normal and not be a butterfly, you have to do this quest for me. And that's all I remember. That was the last time we played, and that's all I remember.
Yeah, I could have done a better job as DM there.
Well, what I think is funny, too, I feel like we could have kept playing, but I was like, talk about like quickly learning like consequences of actions. Yeah, you can't steal a dragon as a level 1 character from a wizard.
Well, I mean, and
That's
now as like an older player, what would you even do with it? Like at that time, you wouldn't have even known how to take care of it.
I would have figured it out. You know, that was around the time where I was watching Brannon like play Ultima Online, and I finally created a character, and I was like, what character should I create? Oh, I want a tamer. So I could like, you know, I'd see people walk around with dragons, right? And so I would just go around like taming cows and horses and trying to work up. I never got to work up to a dragon. Didn't play it that long. And so then this campaign comes up. I'm like, yeah, baby dragon, it's mine. Who doesn't want a baby dragon?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And apparently the campaign that we left, they just got a dragon's egg, a black dragon's egg, and one of the people wants it. And it sounds like that's a whole new issue going on in their group.
Yeah, I think giving someone a dragon's egg is really cool. But then if like you're like, it depends on what world you're in, because a dragon's egg could be completely like, no, there are no dragon riders in this world. Dragons are just evil, or dragons are their own thing. Like once it gets to at a certain age, it will just eat you, you know? Like
there are 5 dragon eggs in my world that the kids rescued that are being held by a wizard somewhere.
Now, that's smart. Did you give them the dragon egg because you remembered that we tried to steal the dragon?
No, I did not. That didn't have anything to do with it. But at Christmas time, Santa did come and give them presents too, which was pretty cool.
That's really
In-world
cool.
gifts.
That's really
magic
cool.
items, so that was fun. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up that story because it's so funny to me, like how it happened. And then I was like, honestly, that is such level-headed like DMing for like your little brother, because it could have been like, no, he kills you, he kills everyone, that we're done, you can't do this, or it was yelling and it's like he turned you into a butterfly. You're like, well, now I know. I'm like, there's a polymorph spell, you know, like I was like, it doesn't even matter, like it doesn't matter, like he turned you into this, right? I'm like, that sucked. And then it's like, he turned you back. What do you want to do? I was like, what a great way to just completely like have the kid gloves on, you know. So I liked that.
That's a lot better than my rocks fell on the party, aka like a bunch of vampire spawn on like cavalry ran down Chris, Sean, everybody in that campaign. Actually, not Chris. Chris had been killed right before that by the bugbear. Arvaldir had just died.
I don't want to think about it.
I love the risk reward of D&D. That's why I like it with the kids too, is that there's a big risk reward thing there too.
Yeah, and you know what? We're gonna continue on kind of some of the like adaptations and the challenges that come with DMing for kids, kind of like when you DM'd for me as
Wait
a kid.
a minute, is this a part? Are we going into a part 2?
Oh yeah, we're gonna continue on to part 2 next time on Tabletop Talk. Next time on Tabletop Talk. And that's it, right?
You
We're
beat
good.
me to. Just kidding. You beat me to the Dragon Ball Z voice.
I like that we never really have an actual ending. We just have something that either fizzles out or
It's so from my side, it's so sharp. You're like, and that'll be it. Yeah. Well, you guys were in a good conversation. That's just done.
yeah, it's so funny. We have to leave the audience wanting more.
It works.